is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
There he is, locked and loaded. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I'm good. I'm good. The division round maybe wasn't quite as fun as the wild card round. Never is. The wild card round is about as good as it gets as a sports weekend. I don't know, in the entire calendar year, but it was a fun set of games. Really impressed by at least one of the losers in Jacksonville. I'd feel like if I were a Jacksonville fan, I couldn't wait for let's get to August. Like, let's get to camp. Let's run this back. I'd be super excited. Other than that, I think we have the 4 best teams. Not really sure what happened to Buffalo at the end, but it's going to be a great, the championship games are just going to be outstanding.
I talked a little bit about this before you came on. I think Buffalo is mismanaged, is what I think it is. I think they allow the quarterback to play too loose. I think they go for too many big throws. I don't think they check down nearly enough. They don't commit to the run. And if you're the head coach and you're the offensive coordinator, I'm not sure how you could be happy watching Josh Allen run into 3-4 defenders and try to take them all on and taking all these hits. One of the reasons why at least the other Bills teams made it to the Super Bowl on a consistent basis and they were much more consistent threat, it's because they had a guy named Thurman Thomas, who really brought balance to everything that they did, because he was that dual threat as a running back and as a wide receiver. And they just do not commit to the run, and their most impactful runner is the quarterback. And how could you be happy with that? Because have you not watched Cam Newton get broken down eventually? Are you not watching Jalen Hurts, who's just fresh coming back from an injury, and Justin Fields going out with an injury, and Lamar Jackson's missed 10 games in the last 2 years now with injuries? Like, this is something that I just think that the Bills are mismanaged, is what I see. And the coach and the coordinator and the front office, they better figure out a way to bring more balance, because your meal ticket's going to end up breaking down eventually.
Yeah. Obviously everybody takes some heat after you are one of the, 3 or 4 teams. There's not that many teams in the league each year that can legitimately say, okay, if we don't win a Super Bowl, it's a disappointment. But Buffalo is pretty clearly one of those teams. The coaching staff has enough credentials and has had enough success that I don't think they're particularly vulnerable. I do think that roster has a couple of glaring weaknesses, and you've identified one of them. It was actually one that we talked about a fair amount within the fantasy space, leading into throughout free agency last year and then throughout the draft, right? Is Devin Singletary going to lose all of his fantasy value? Are they going to target a running back? Are they going to get Breece Hall? There was a big, that was one of the potential destinations for Breece Hall. The Bills were said to have an interest in him. That I think that probably would have been a smart move. Cook has been good, but he's actually had for what his skill set was supposed to be, he's going to be this great receiving back. He's going to be this, Kevin Falk or whatever. He had some rough moments as a receiver. He actually, I think he looked better as a runner, as a rotational runner, than he necessarily did as a receiver. So they've got some stuff to figure out. They've got a great free agent class of running backs out there, though, right? Saquon's out there, Tony Pollard's out there. Hopefully he gets healthy within a reasonable period of time.
That's a fractured fibula. That's going to hurt him now in free.
Yeah, there's just a ton of available running backs. Miles Sanders is available. It's a good draft class, so they have another chance to address that. I also think that they don't, Khalil Shakir made a couple of plays against the Bengals, but they don't have a number 2 receiver who scares you, right? So if
they're good receivers, but not well. Gabe Davis is a good player. I like Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis, by and large, did not pass the test this year. I will say Gabe Davis has some spike weeks where he's
right. You would figure he would be a pretty good number 2.
Yeah, he has some. I think really Gabe Davis is a pretty good number 3. I think he's somebody who obviously he can get deep on you, but he's not like a full route tree guy. He's not a great separator. He's not he doesn't really have like one trait that you'd say is an elite level trait. He does happen to benefit from the fact that, you know, he's in a good offense tied to a good quarterback with Stephon Diggs on the field. So it's not like Gabe Davis is ever going to receive maximum attention from anyone. But he goes quiet in a lot of games, and he was quiet against the Bengals, right? Had an opportunity to make a pretty big play that he couldn't haul in. He's a guy that, you know, like his bad games are really bad. We remember, you know, the multiple touchdowns, the 200 yards against Kansas City. He's just a wide range of outcomes guy. And you need, you know, if they have Super Bowl aspirations, it would sure be nice to have a second receiver who's just a lock for 1,000 yards, you know, steady 65, 75 catches, 1,000 yards. I know what I'm going to get from you each week. And like the Bengals have 3 of those guys, and you know, the Bills have Diggs, and then they hope to find it from somebody else, and it's somebody different each week. And so I think that's really something that they could address as well.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, because for them, that's the thing that Buffalo, you know, and listen, I hope this continues, but your window's only for a certain amount of time. Okay, and you got to be careful.
The AFC is so hard too, right? Like,
yeah.
Josh Allen can have an incredible career and never get to the Super Bowl because he's got to deal with a decade of Joe Burrow and a decade of Patrick Mahomes, and like the Dolphins are set up for success. And by the way, the Jaguars are coming, man. I don't know. Trevor Lawrence is going to get to a Super Bowl someday.
Hold on a second. You were saying that about the Jags. I'm feeling that for our Dolphins.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you. There's not a team in the league that has a better wide receiver duo than the Dolphins. They're another team they're probably gonna have a great patch at running back this year, given the number of options. Like, I think the Dolphins are set up for success as well. I'm just saying the AFC's hard. Like, the AFC's an almost impossible problem, and there's no shame in losing in the division round, given the players that you've got to deal with. Like, Joe Burrow's never going to be an easy out, and Patrick Mahomes is never going to be an easy out, and those problems aren't going away.
Yeah, and by the way, Pittsburgh, their young quarterback's going to get better next year. Now he got better towards the end of the year. He was getting through the fire. And
Big O, I can't believe they held on to Matt Canada. I don't understand it. There was not a less interesting offense in the league this year. There was not an offense that I don't know, like that was easier to read. They have a dynamic playmaker in George Pickens, and they gave him 5 targets a game. Like, they just made weird choices all season. Maybe this is in the best interest of Kenny Pickett to just give him the same voice to listen to one year after another. But
maybe they kept it simple for the rookie to kind of get him through the year, and then you start adding to his responsibilities. And I think that's when you start to expand the playbook, you know, overall. Pickens is a hell of a player, by the way.
Pickens is a hell of a player who they only ever targeted like 5 times a game. I'll never understand it. Like, that should have been an easy thing to do with Kenny Pickett, right? He likes to go deep. He didn't do it necessarily all that well all season, but he likes to do it. You know, anytime Pickens has a one-on-one, man, I can't imagine not lobbing it up to him.
So, yeah, you're right. The AFC is absolutely loaded. And so that's where I think that, you know, the Bills are kind of playing with fire, because all of a sudden now, I think the Dolphins have completely closed the gap. All you have to do is look at the 3 games, even completely injury-riddled with their third quarterback. They almost won that game, you know, which is nuts. And then the Jets, they're pretty damn good. They'll get Breece Hall back, and if they do get like a Derek Carr type or a Jimmy Garoppolo,
what if they get Aaron Rodgers? Like, what if they get Aaron Rodgers? How good is the AFC then? You know?
Oh yeah, no. If they get Aaron, I just don't know if anybody's going to get Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know,
because of the cap ramifications for them, and then they're going to ask for the world also on top of all of that. It just, you know, and then you've got to have.
I don't even know if the Aaron Rodgers of today can tell you what the Aaron Rodgers 2 months from now is going to want to do either, right? So like, he's a huge variable as well.
He would have done a lot of shrooms from now till 2 months from now, and so you just don't know what he's thinking after a couple of dosages of the shrooms. You know what I'm saying? Yep. By the way, I just saw this come across the wire here. Cruel World, Saturday, May 20th in Pasadena, California. Susie and the Banshees, Iggy Pop, Billy Idol, Love and Rockets, Echo and the Bunnymen, Adam Ant, the Human League, Gary Newman, Modern English,
That's amazing.
ABC, the Vapors, we're turning Japanese, the Motels, and Emotion. Holy crap, dude.
This is a single show or festival. What is this?
Yeah, it's in Pasadena, just
Big
one
O,
day.
I'm going to see Iggy Pop in Chicago at a relatively small venue in March. I'm so excited about it. I haven't seen him since I saw him in the 80s with the Ramones. It was incredible. And I can't believe he's still performing. Can't believe he's still with us. Talk about a guy who's lived a life. But
now remember, he's got a new rule now. No more crowd surfing. He's too old, he says. He can't do the crowd. So at like 80 years old, he's decided not to do crowd surfing.
maybe he'll send out a designated crowd surfer. I don't know. It wouldn't be the same.
No matter how wrinkled he is, he'll take off his shirt. That's for damn sure.
That guy was cut like in the, I don't know. I probably saw him in like 1988, 1989. That guy
yeah. But now he's a little older, and so yeah, it's like Billy Idol does the same thing. It's like, yo, Billy, you're not that guy anymore. Don't do that, bro. You look like me now. No, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. But that's a hell of a show right there. Anybody that loves 80s music, damn, that's a hell of a show. That's a hell of a show. The Cowboys.
Woof.
No Mike. Let's leave Mike McCarthy out of this. It's not his fault. He had a crazy ass kicker that, finally figured a couple kicks out yesterday. And then Dak. Wow, that was a bad day for Dak. He should have thrown more than 2 interceptions. He looked like the moment was too big for him at times. I got to be honest.
Certainly the Niners defense will speed things up for you, right? And he did not handle that well at all. And you are so right. He deserved the 2 interceptions he threw. He could have finished the game with 3 or 4. That would not have been much of a shock. CeeDee Lamb had a heroic game, made some tremendous catches, but Dak was just like a beat off with almost everybody else, right? Like he was throwing behind people. He was throwing late. He missed that throw to Gallup that could have been a game changer, because that game was right there the whole time. And Dallas's defense was tremendous. It just, that thing ends, and we've built up a sort of myth of Dak Prescott a little bit, I think, because of the circumstances in which he came into the league, right, and took hold of that starting job. He might just be a guy who, especially after the injury, and there's not really a running component to his game anymore. Not that
he's a pocket passer. Yeah.
Not that was a huge part of it before, but like when they would get inside the 10-yard line, Dak was definitely a threat to house it. And, I don't think that's there. So now, is he just another of these like Derek Carr-ish quarterbacks? I think he might be. Like he could be the quarterback of a team that plays in a Super Bowl, but I don't know that Dak Prescott is ever going to be the guy that, just flat out wins you 3 games in the playoffs.
Right.
He needs an awful lot around him, and they all of a sudden, they've got questions. They've got a second receiver problem themselves. Schultz, a free agent, Tony Pollard, a free agent, Zeke Elliott making $1 billion and not, he's certainly not vintage Zeke. He's fine, but he doesn't, he's not a back who is currently earning that paycheck. So they got a bunch of issues, and they kind of have the quarterback position. It's filled. I don't know if it's a true asset, especially at the money they've spent.
I don't buy him. I see him as you better have a Trent Dilfer Bucks team around him. You better have, a Trent Dilfer Ravens team around them. You better have the 16 Broncos around. Like Peyton Manning couldn't throw more than 10 yards that year. That's the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl right there, that Peyton Manning. You better have those kind of teams.
I think you better build a wall around him, right? Like he's got to have a lot of time, and he's got to have at least 2 great receivers. If we're Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, and I've got the world's best offensive line, okay. Like a lot of guys would succeed in those circumstances, and I think Dak is one of them, right? But I think he just belongs to that tier of quarterback that needs all those things. Joe Burrow doesn't need those things. Joe Burrow can lose 3 linemen, good linemen, and he's a wizard, right? Like even Joe Burrow's completions yesterday were better than Dak's completions. He was incredible. Like he's just not there.
I tweeted out a picture last night when we were watching that, said ball placement is everything, kids. And it just shows the guy, and he dropped the ball, but where he put it is where the only place that he could catch it, and it was just not on Joe Burrow.
Was it the Jamar Chase near touchdown?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Such a brilliant throw. Incredible throw. Incredible non-catch too. Like the non-catch was pretty good as well, but just phenomenal ball placement. Yeah, he's unbelievable when he gets rolling. And he can do it. He doesn't need both feet under him either. Like he can do it on the move. He can move up in the pocket. Like he can 1-foot it. That guy's so good.
All right. So Dak Prescott, not a believer, or you're not a believer either, unless he's going to need everything. In other words,
if we're saying is he
you don't believe he's
if we're saying is he a superstar that just elevates everybody around him, I don't think he's there. I think he's much closer to Derek Carr than he is, the guys who really belong to that, we have a chance to win because we have Dak. I wouldn't say that, right? Like you're going to say that about Joe Burrow, you're going to say that about Mahomes, you'll say it about Allen, you'll say it about a bunch of guys. I don't think we're going to be saying that about Dak for the next 5 years.
All right, so the Giants did not pick up the option. So they did not gamble on Daniel. Daniel had to gamble on himself, and he had a pretty good year, but obviously did not produce like he needed to against the Eagles. Where do you stand with Daniel Jones? If you're the Giants and you're Brian Daboll, and you now own New York because everybody is happy with the job you did overall. How can you not be happy with the job that Brian Daboll did overall? If you're Brian Daboll, do you stay on the Daniel Jones bandwagon because that's going to get you to the next level as a head coach? Or do you say, this is my fork in the road, I need to go in another direction?
I don't think there's anything that Daniel Jones could have done to get him past the Eagles. Like to me, that is a situation where like
if they play better than what you did is my point. Not really.
If they play 20 times, I think the Eagles win 19. Right? Like I don't think there's a path for the Giants to win that game. And I don't think it's really like they hit him 8 times, they sacked him 5 times. I think Daniel Jones certainly showed enough development, showed enough growth under Daboll, was great the prior week, right? Against a super soft defense. But he also did this without any competent receivers. Like Hodgins, James, Slayton, they're not going to be a part of whatever the Giants are trying to do in the receiving room next year. Like Richie James isn't going to be much of a part of that. Like, well, they had plans for Wan'Dale Robinson. They've spent all this money on Kenny Golladay and got nothing out of it. They had plans for other guys, and it just didn't work out. They gave up on Kadarius Toney. They need to address wide receiver in a big way. They're probably like Daniel Jones showed enough that I think they're probably a destination for any receiver who happens to shake loose. Anybody who's under contract now or coming up on a contract, like I think they're an interesting landing spot. I think you probably have to build on what you just had with Daniel Jones. None of this is to say that I think Daniel Jones is a guy who necessarily elevates your franchise either, but I think he's good enough that he certainly wasn't the problem for the Giants. And they just got mauled. Like both offensive and defensive lines just got absolutely brutalized by Philadelphia. Like those teams are just not even close in the trenches. They didn't get a hit on Jalen Hurts, right? Like I mean that was just Philly's offensive line being dominant and their defensive line being dominant, and the Giants having very little chance.
All right, so what do you got in the NFC Championship game? Niners?
Oh, man. If I had to bet it, and I think the line opened at only with the Eagles only as a 2-point favorite, I would definitely have the Eagles. I thought the Eagles were phenomenal. Obviously, the Niners are a much greater challenge, and they've got far greater skill position players than what the Eagles just faced. But I think that was the full realization of Philadelphia's offense and Philadelphia's defense. And I can easily imagine the Niners having another game in which they, what did they score against Dallas? Was it like 19 points, right? Like I don't know that they're going to put up a big number against Philly. And I think Philly can put up a big number against anybody. So
by the way, you got to give Purdy a little credit because he has to manage the game and that's all they ask him to do. but he'll make some tough throws on third downs. He will help you convert and keep your drive alive. And
he's
he
also great. He's been great when things descend into chaos. He's been really good, right? Like not even just this past week, but the week prior, like and it's so strange to say about like our rookie third string quarterback, but when things went haywire and he would, turn his back to the line of scrimmage and spin away from trouble and then, get flushed, you were like, uh-oh, they're scoring. Like you just have all this confidence that Brock Purdy's going to find the right guy, and he would. Like there's Christian McCaffrey. Oh, there's George Kittle and a total impromptu play. And he's, that's the difference between winning and losing at the highest level in that sport. A lot of the time is like, how good are you when,
chaos,
when things absolutely break down and you have to make a play, because everybody at this stage of the game should be good from structure, right? Like everybody's good when everything goes according to script. But how good are you when things break down?
That's in fact, that's what I've said for many years on this show, is that's how I measure my quarterback, is in chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that, like Ryan Tannehill, he is actually terrific on script. Yeah. Everybody's doing their job, and he'll deliver the ball. He can be a good game manager for you. You know what I mean? That he has that in him. But if the initial play breaks down and then all of a sudden now you've got to ad lib a little bit, now that's when his brain goes scatter and it's done. And that's when he starts to make his mistakes, and that's all you got to do. If everything's on script, you got a shot with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as your team's really good around him, he can manage. And I saw that in him, but I never saw like franchise guy in him, because in chaos, that's when that's what happened to him last year when he threw the 3 interceptions.
Turnover waiting to happen. Yeah.
Because it's chaos. You know what I mean? And that's some of the things that I've waited several weeks to keep seeing this kid in these kind of moments. And sometimes you're just on a roll and you make the right rate, but as you continue to do this, that just shows you something, man, and that's a pretty good defense too that he was facing that can pressure people.
Best he's seen. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I give him a lot of credit because he made a lot of tough throws. And to me, that's where I give that kid respect, on those tough throws, especially those third downs.
Can we just give a nod to Chad Henne? Like the one drive that Chad Henne had went 98
mostly
yards.
Running. There was one large run and all that. But yeah,
I mean, like that pump was really good.
Another
pinned him at the 2. First play, they come out in shotgun. We've got Chad Henne like 4 or 5 yards deep in the end zone, his own end zone, and he leads them on a 98-yard scoring drive, 12-play scoring drive. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We'll never see Chad Henne again. Like we may never see him in the NFL again. That's the way he's going to go out. That was absolutely incredible.
Hey man, great coaching always helps too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if you're a backup quarterback, if your coach has prepared you, and that's where Shanahan and company have to get a lot of credit for Purdy, that they have prepared their young quarterback and given him an opportunity to succeed. So mad props. All right, what do you got working on Yahoo this week?
Yeah, we're still cranking out the podcast, the Yahoo Fantasy Football Forecast. I'm recording that in another 3 minutes here, so looking forward to it, breaking down all the playoff games and previewing the ones ahead.
All right, good stuff. Next week we'll be in the Senior Bowl, so we'll have some fun out there, and
nice.
start working on the draft. All right,
follow my Bears coach there. I think you got Luke Getsy there coaching one of those sides.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Follow him on Twitter at Andy Behrens and catch his work there at Yahoo Sports. Andy, as always, thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Big O. Appreciate it.
You got it. There you go. Andy Behrens, baby. Appreciate him immensely. Sports Grill, by the way, 8 great locations. Today is Monday. $7 single smash burger. Tomorrow, Tuesday, $2 tacos, chicken, beef, or fish. And on Wednesdays, the kids eat free with the purchase of an adult entree. So what are you waiting for? We got 8 great locations now. Used to be 7, but now we've got the 8th great location. It's the 8th wonder of the world, the Doral location. Some people used to call the Astrodome the 8th wonder of the world. Well, now we call Sports Grill in Doral the eighth wonder of the world. So you should go visit the eighth wonder and the eighth location of Sports Grill. Go to sportsgrill.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.